Despite being one of the most influential rappers of the early 2000s, and despite being signed to one of the most iconic artists of all time, that being 50 Cent, it would seem that Young Buck should have achieved more success in his career. He has multiple hits like Stomp, Let Me In, Shorty Wanna Ride, and Get Buck, and not only was he affiliated with 50 Cent, but he had Dr. Dre and the whole Shady Aftermath team at his disposal. But despite having everything going for him, Young Buck's career has taken a serious nosedive. And this makes us wonder, what happened to Young Buck? The answer to this question takes us back to 2008. In April 2008, 50 Cent did an interview with Hot 97, and during the interview he made it very clear that Young Buck was not a part of G-Unit, even though he was still contractually signed to the label. At the time, 50 Cent and the G-Unit crew had just released their album called Terminate on Sight. However, it didn't take a genius to notice that Young Buck was only on a few tracks on the album. 2 months after 50's appearance on Hot 97, a very private conversation between 50 Cent and Young Buck was released to the internet. It seemed like Young Buck called 50 because he wanted to squash their beef. He ended up crying, he begged for 50's forgiveness, and he also spoke of the plaguing financial issues that he was going through, but little did he know that 50 Cent was recording the entire conversation. So one day after the conversation was released on the internet by 50 himself, Young Buck released a diss track called Taped Conversations, and this is what he had to say.
Yo, bitch niggas do bitch things. Look at 50 what he does just to get fame. Record my phone call when I spoke from the heart. That was a year ago. This was a joke from the start. You a hoe, and I know the only people record conversations is 5-0.
So after Young Buck released the diss track, 50 appeared on Hot 97 once again, and he addressed his rivalry with Young Buck. A lot of times people don't see what the other person is doing. They don't understand the cause and effect. They don't see the other person. They just pay attention to me. It's crazy. When I see so many people showing me so many different things within their character, I don't value them anymore. Now, what is 50 Cent actually talking about here? Let's get into it. According to 50 himself, Young Buck had a drug problem that prevented him from recording songs with G-Unit. Not only that, but Buck displayed inconsistent behavior like recording songs with 50's former rival, The Game. Looking at things from 50's point of view, one can understand why he stopped giving Young Buck any chances, and when we look further into it, we can clearly see that 50's pettiness ultimately derailed Young Buck's career in the years following 2008. In typical 50 Cent fashion, 50 used Buck's G-Unit contract against him and prevented Buck from releasing any new music, and this is what Buck had to say on the matter. The problem is, I go to be a feature on their hit record, and then they have to go to 50 Cent to clear me on the record. And he says no. And they're looking at me like, well damn. Because if it wasn't for that, I would probably be on every record that's out right now. Because everybody and their mama reaches out to me and gives me support. So if we look at things from Young Buck's perspective, one can understand his frustrations. For nearly a decade, 50 has been preventing Buck from releasing new music, which ultimately led to the downfall of Buck's career. If Buck isn't able to put out new music, then he is unable to stay relevant within the hip-hop realm. We live in an era where you're only as good as your last hit, and since Buck's last hit came out in 2007, Buck has had trouble securing the bag. And on April 2019, Buck released an album called Compulsive. The album was well produced, it showcased Young Buck's hunger and energy. However, when Buck released the visuals for his lead single called Road Trip on YouTube, 50 Cent took down the video immediately and issued Buck a copyright notice. It seems like 50 has been trolling Young Buck for years, and in an old interview that came out in 2008, Buck had this to say about 50 Cent. His reaction being so harsh is to basically stall me out to a position where my numbers drop. Because if you don't have a new product out, then you can't go get the big dollar for shows. He wants to pretty much destroy my life from a silent-sided way of doing things. That's his angle, and my contracts allow him to be able to do just that. Now this one interview explains why Buck is still struggling to put out music to this day. Buck is still contractually signed to 50, and 50 being the petty man that he is, has ensured that Buck can't earn a decent living with any new material. Now the beef between Buck and 50 doesn't stop there, in fact it gets worse with each passing day. And in 2018, a transgender woman went online and revealed the shocking news that Young Buck was her secret lover. Now in the hip hop world, being associated with a transgender woman is basically career suicide. You can ask Chingy. So when the news finally hit the web and when 50 finally got a hold of it, the trolling began. Young Buck is almost ready to drop his album. I told him his personal choice to date a transgender woman will confuse some of his core audience, but with the support of the LGBT community, he should be fine. Buck later responded to 50's trolling by saying this: "You're trying to sabotage me, pull my music down, send cease and desist everywhere, put up little posts and jokes for laughs while you do weak-ass things behind my back, and you try to keep me tied to a contract. If you're such a real dude, why don't you let me go? You understand? And we'll fight the battle like that. What you scared for? Line me up like Ja Rule. Go bar for bar with me. Play that game. Are you scared? You wanna do sucker things, but you ain't gonna get far away from me though." Now at this point in 2019, it's pretty clear where 50 Cent and Young Buck stand. 50, being the petty man that he is, will not let Young Buck out of his contract, and because of this, Buck is unable to collaborate with any prominent artists or release any music without getting 50's permission. As the years pass by, Buck becomes less and less relevant, and it's almost like people have forgotten that he once went multi-platinum. At this point, Buck's only options are to buy himself out of his contract, beg 50 for his forgiveness once more, or fade into irrelevancy if that hasn't happened already. I honestly can't wait to see what Buck does next. He has always been the rapper that brought that energy to every song that he hopped on, so I hope Buck finds a way out of the precarious position that 50 has placed him in. So I'm gonna end the video right there. If you guys like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button. It's your boy Ali. Peace.